Although the new Ford Mondeo is only just now arriving in the UK, it's already been on sale in the US for the last 3 years as the Fusion. There it sells only in saloon form, but here we get primarily hatchback and estate body styles, with a saloon reserved for the hybrid model. Although the delay may mean the new Mondeo isn't as striking as perhaps it might have been, Ford say they've used the time to fill the new Mondeo with some of their latest gadgets, such as their new pedestrian detection system, an inflatable rear seatbelt, and their new dynamic LED headlights that alter their pattern according to speed, light levels, distance from the vehicle in front, and other parameters. Physically, the new Mondeo is bigger than before. In fact, even the hatchback model is longer than most competitors' estate models, but its design manages to hide its size quite well. Cabin space is generous, and the high belt line gives a sense of security, although the thick A-pillars can restrict the driver's view at junctions. Dominating the cabin design is Ford's new Sync 2 system, which uses an 8-inch colour touchscreen that's standard across the range. Its interface is split into 4 zones, and although it provides fairly efficient access to most functions, the layout isn't always that intuitive. We also found that the heavily angled screen was easily affected by sunlight and reflections too. Navigation is standard on titanium models, but can be added to lesser grades for the commendably low sum of £300. Titanium models also get a new TFT instrument cluster that can display a wide range of data including navigation instructions, while lesser models have more conventional gauges. Rear seat passengers will find there's plenty of leg and footroom, although the sloping roofline can eat into headroom. We also found it affected rearward visibility for the driver too. If you're particularly protective of your passengers, you can add Ford's new inflatable rear seatbelts for just £175. Luggage space is good, with up to 550 litres depending on whether you have a spare wheel or not, rising to 1,466 litres with the seats folded. Estate models boast up to 1,630 litres, although this is still slightly less than, say, a Mazda 6. From launch, 3 diesel engines will be available, starting with a 1.6 with 115 PS, plus 2 2-litre units with 150 and 180 PS. A pair of petrol EcoBoost units are also available, a 1.5 with 160 PS and a 2-litre with 240. Following later in the year will be a new 1-litre EcoBoost plus a high-powered twin-turbo diesel with 210, as well as a series of all-wheel drive models. There's also a hybrid that combines a 2-litre Atkinson cycle petrol engine with an electric motor and a lithium-ion battery, but that's mated exclusively to a CVT Auto, which we're not fans of. We spent most of our time behind the wheel of the 2-litre diesel units, and 2 things struck us about the pair of them. Firstly, they are both a little lethargic, and despite creditable on-paper performance figures, the 180 unit sprints from 0 to 62 in 8.3 seconds for instance, in the real world they just don't feel that quick. Part of this is perhaps due to the rather tall gearing they've been given, presumably in the interest of achieving low CO2 figures, but this relegates 6th gear to little more than a motorway overdrive ratio. Secondly, all the engines we tried were incredibly refined, with all mechanical noises well isolated from the cabin. In fact, that's something that's true for the new Mondeo in general, with wind and road noise both well suppressed, thanks to a new rear suspension setup and additional soundproofing. The 2-litre is particularly easy to drive, and it includes a neat anti-stall function that raises the rev slightly as soon as you begin to lift the clutch pedal, and this combines with a hill holder function to make hill starts a doddle. The 1.6 is a little trickier to get moving from an incline though, as at low revs it's rather lacking in torque. However, it's on the motorway that the new Mondeo begins to shine. Combine the impressive noise isolation with the Mondeo's excellent ride quality, and you have a car that will happily eat up the miles, and it even deals well with cat's eyes and other large surface imperfections. Unfortunately, there is a trade-off, and in this case, it's the handling. The previous Mondeo was a well-regarded driver's car, but this new model seems to have rounded off the edges just a little too much. The majority of the blame for this is likely to fall on the new electric power steering, which does rob the driver of most of the available feedback, but it also has a curious uneven response just either side of the straight ahead position. We also noticed a tendency to drift sideways in the wet in response to mid-corner bumps. Prices for the new Mondeo start at £20,795, with the anticipated big seller, the 2-litre titanium, weighing in at £24,245. Estate models add around £1,200 on average, while the hybrid is yours for £24,995. That makes it significantly cheaper than a BMW 3 Series, the biggest seller in this segment, and you'll need to spec a 320d to well over £31,000 to match the Ford spec. Of course, the new Mondeo isn't as engaging to drive as its German rival, nor arguably is it as engaging as its predecessor. But it is now a remarkably refined beast and represents far greater value for money.